Hello and welcome to my third lesson. Let's jump straight into business. As I've mentioned in my first video, in Hebrew we don't have any real vowel letters. Instead, we use a vowel system called Nikud. Nikud is a system of diacritical signs that are applied in and or around letters and is used to distinguish between the different pronunciations of Hebrew letters. In modern times, the Nikud is rarely used in everyday writing, as it is inconvenient and cumbersome. It is mainly used in dictionaries, poetry, children's books, or when teaching the language to new immigrants, or when someone wants the writing to be clear and unambiguous, when the reader is likely to make an error in reading a word and the writer wants to be clear of his intentions. A word of caution: there are a lot of Nikud marks, so brace yourselves. Dagesh, represented by a dot in the middle of the letter. The main letters the Dagesh affects are the letters Bet, Kaf, and Pei. When the Dagesh is used, the pronunciation of those letters changes between what's called hard sounds, Bet, Kaf, and Pei, and soft sound, Vet, Chaf, and Fei. For example, the word home in Hebrew is written as bite and is transliterated as bite, as opposed to the word vehicle in Hebrew, which is written as rechev and is transliterated as rechev. Mapik looks the same as the Dagesh but has a different function. It only appears in the letter Hey at the end of a word. When a Mapik is present in the letter Hey at the end of a word, the letter is not silent, and when it's lacking, the letter is silent. For example, the word height in Hebrew is written as gova and is transliterated as gova, as opposed to the word happened in Hebrew, which is written as kara and is transliterated as kara. Dagesh and Mapik symbols are often omitted in writing. For instance, Bet is often written as Bet. The use or omission of such marks is usually consistent throughout any given context. Note: each of the vowel marks I'm about to talk about next are considered either big, short, or fleeting. This will not make sense at the moment, but keep this little piece of information in the back of your mind for the end of the video. Kamats, represented by two perpendicular lines underneath a letter. The kamats represents an A sound like the A in the word far and is transliterated as an A. For example, the word happened in Hebrew is written as kara and is transliterated as kara. Kamats male. The kamats can also appear in another form called kamats male. In this form, the kamats vowel sign is added a silent aleph or hey. This form does not affect its pronunciation. For example, the word came in Hebrew is written as ba and is transliterated as ba. The kamat has two versions which look the same and sound the same, but serve a different role in Hebrew grammar. The two versions are called kamats gadol and kamats katan. Patakh, represented by a horizontal line underneath a letter. The Patakh represents an A sound like the A in the word far and is transliterated as an A. Patakh sounds the same as kamats. For example, the word also in Hebrew is written as gam and is transliterated as gam. When the Patakh appears below a chet or an ayin at the end of a word, the vowel sound is pronounced before the letter itself. For example, the word apple in Hebrew is written as tapuach and is transliterated as tapuach. Another example would be the word throat, which in Hebrew is written as loa and is transliterated as loa. Patakh male. The Patakh can also appear in another form called Patakh male. In this form, the Patakh vowel sign is added a silent aleph or hey. This form does not affect its pronunciation. For example, the word example in Hebrew is written as dugma and is transliterated as dugma. Kubuts, represented by three diagonal dots underneath a letter. The kubuts represent an U sound like the U in the word put and is transliterated as a U. For example, the word example in Hebrew is written as dugma and is transliterated as dugma. Shuruk, represented by the letter Vav with a dot next to it. The shuruk represents an U sound like the U in the word put and is transliterated as a U. For example, the word ball in Hebrew is written as kadur and is transliterated as kadur. Holam, represented by a dot in the upper left corner of the letter. The cholam represents an O sound like the O in the word go and is transliterated as an O. For example, the word youth in Hebrew is written as noar and is transliterated as noar. Holam male. The Holam can also appear in another form called Holam Male. In this form, the Holam vowel sign appears either on top of a silent vav directly after the letter it affects or accompanied by a silent aleph or hey. This form does not affect its pronunciation. For example, the word dream in Hebrew is written as chalom and is transliterated as chalom. And for example, the word here in Hebrew is written as po and is transliterated as po. Hirik, represented by a dot underneath the letter. The hirik represents an E sound like the I in the word fish and is transliterated as an I. For example, the word chirp in Hebrew is written as tziyutz and is transliterated as tziyutz. Hirik male. The hirik can also appear in another form called hirik male. In this form, the hirik vowel sign is added a silent yud. This form does not affect its pronunciation. For example, the word pillow in Hebrew is written as karit and is transliterated as karit. Tzere, represented by two dots underneath the letter. The tzere represents an E sound like the E in the word met and is transliterated as an E. For example, the word vehicle in Hebrew, which is written as rechev, is transliterated as rechev. Tzere male. The tzere can also appear in another form called tzere male. In this form, the tzere vowel sign is added a silent yud, aleph or hey. This form does not affect its pronunciation. For example, the word chair in Hebrew is written as kiseh and is transliterated as kiseh. Segol, represented by three dots forming an upside-down equilateral triangle. The segol represents an E sound like the E in the word met and is transliterated as an E. For example, the word vehicle in Hebrew is written as rechev and is transliterated as rechev. The Shin and Sin Dots, represented by a dot either on the upper right or left side of the letter Shin. When the dot is at the upper right side of the letter, it is called Shin and is pronounced with a sh sound. When the dot is at the upper left side of the letter, it is called Sin and is pronounced with a s sound. An example of Shin would be the word hello in Hebrew, which is written as shalom and is transliterated as shalom. An example of Sin would be the word happiness in Hebrew, which is written as simcha and is transliterated as simcha. Shva, represented by two vertical dots underneath the letter. The shva has two forms that look the same, but one is mute and the other is not. The non-mute shva is called shva nach, and the mute shva is called shva na. The shva nach represents an E sound like the E in the word met and is transliterated as an E or as nothing. The word shva na is mute and therefore not transliterated. For example, the word floating in Hebrew is written as merachef and is transliterated as merachef, as opposed to the word time, which in Hebrew is written as zman and is transliterated as zman. Within Nikud, vowel diacritics are sorted into three groups: big, small, and fleeting. The vowel diacritics classified as chatufot all share the common feature of being a digraph of a small vowel diacritic plus a shva sign. Similarly, their names are derived from the respective small vowel diacritics name plus the adjunct Khataf. Khataf Kamats, Khataf Patakh, and Khataf Segol. Spoken Israeli Hebrew, however, does not distinguish between different vowel lengths. Thus, this orthographic differentiation is not manifested in speech. Khataf Kamats, the shorter version of Kamats Katan. As I've mentioned, the Khataf Kamats sounds the same as the Kamats and the Patakh in modern spoken Hebrew. Khataf Patakh, the shorter version of Patakh. As I've mentioned, the Khataf Patakh sounds the same as the Patakh and the Kamats in modern spoken Hebrew. Khataf Segol, the shorter version of Segol. As I've mentioned, the Khataf Segol sounds the same as the Segol and the Tzere in modern spoken Hebrew. Here's a table comparing the different vowel lengths. Big vowel marks are Holam, Kamats Gadol, Tzere, Hirik Male, and Shuruk. Short vowel marks are Kamats Katan, Patakh, Segol, Hirik, and Kubuts. And fleeting vowel marks are Khataf Kamats, Khataf Patakh, and Khataf Segol. In conclusion, the Nikud system is hard and abnormal to the non-native Hebrew speaker and therefore is one of the things that makes Hebrew such a difficult language to master. But don't worry, you don't need to know how to use Nikud, you just need to understand it and to be able to read it. Heck, even I, as a native Hebrew speaker, don't know how to use Nikud properly as I've not used it for so long and have forgotten how to use it. In fact, I've had to use dotting tools in order to make sure the information I am giving you in this video is 100% correct. The point I'm trying to get across is that once you've learned enough vocabulary and have a basic understanding of how Hebrew grammar works, then Nikud becomes neglectable. You won't ever use it when really writing in Hebrew, but it is essential when learning how to read the language. Also, I suggest you watch this video multiple times and perhaps that you write the different Nikud marks down and study them at your free time in order to learn them more quickly. If you liked this video, then comment, rate and subscribe for more.